Alex B, last night the Winnipeg Jets get closed out by the Colorado Avalanche. I was looking at that one pretty shocked that, Connor Hellebuck had allowed as many goals as he had each game in that series. We obviously know that Colorado is capable of putting up a lot of goals, capable of creating a lot of offense, but it didn't feel like they were going to be able to solve Connor Hellebuck to that degree. Your gripe is not necessarily with the goaltending. You're looking elsewhere within that organization right this morning.
Yeah, at this point, when you look back at the last two postseasons for the Winnipeg Jets, you've had high hopes heading into the playoffs against their respective opponents. The Vegas Golden Knights last year, Colorado Avalanche this year. You win game one, get momentum on your side, and then you go out and lose the next four games. That happens once. Okay, Rick Bowness, head coach, called out the team last year. It happens again. Maybe that's not on the team. Maybe that's on you as a coach and your staff, and not making the proper adjustments in game, not making proper adjustments between games. And, I know Bonus has gone through a lot this season. He's had some family issues, had to step away from the team at times like this. But there's something missing there with him leading this team in the playoffs and getting them ready for the postseason. You can be a great regular season coach all you want. But if you can't get things done in the best of seven series, maybe it's time for you to go elsewhere. Maybe the Winnipeg Jets need to find a new head coach. I don't think Bonus is going to be the answer with this group, especially with the guys you have signed long term, like Connor Hellebuck, who, a guy who's seen a lot of games in net now. We talked about how Georgiev might have been a guy who could have been kind of tired heading into the series. Maybe Connor Hellebuck's one of these guys where he should be playing 60-plus games during the regular season. We've seen him kind of wear down now in a couple of playoff series moving forward.
Now, I think it's kind of interesting the way that series played out because I picked the Avs. I did ahead of time. The arguments that were laid out by a lot of people across the Edgework show for the Jets, even not necessarily to win, but just to kind of push that series along, make it a more drawn out battle. It seemed like it was going to be a problem of depth. Like we were going to see a lot of depth. We were going to see maybe some lower scoring games, and we were going to see Georgiev be an issue on the other end for this Avalanche team to kind of have to combat against the Jets, where you're going to go up against Connor Hellebuck, a Vezina caliber goaltender. You're not going to be able to score a lot of goals, and you've got a guy going into the series who we all basically thought was, a shooter-tutor back there, and yet that kind of seems to not be the case, and it just felt strange that this was such a dominant series. Yeah. I'm curious, Alex, your thoughts on just how the Avalanche, how you kind of interpret the Avalanche being able to take control of this series, even when it came to the depth. Like, yeah, you can look at the upper tier guys, the top six guys there, but like there was not much ability for the Jets team to take advantage of the bottom six of the Avs. Is that where you're kind of looking at saying this is coaching? Is this personnel when it comes to that kind of stuff? What are your thoughts there?
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. The depth certainly favored Colorado as far as offense goes. But when you look at the blue lines, really neither blue line played that great. There were lots of breakdowns. You look at just go back and go over the goals in this series at both ends. There was a lot of defensemen caught out of position. And that's a problem, certainly if you're Winnipeg, where you can't just run and gun and you don't have the horses that can score consistently like Colorado. But that's now a problem for Colorado, and something to look forward to if you're a Dallas or Vegas fan. Cale Makar getting a little bit banged up. Of course, he's going to have time to rest now, but that's a piece they cannot afford to lose if you're the Avalanche, because Georgiev had to stand on his head and make some big-time saves because those blue liners in front still weren't really helping him out at times. And that's also what led to the outbursts of goals in the one game that the Jets did win.
Albert, is there a certain spot that you're pinpointing in this series as something that went wrong for the Jets? Is this something that you kind of look at the other way and just say, hey, a lot went right for the Avalanche. They were able to get things done in these aspects of the game, and the Jets just weren't able to kind of combat that?
Yeah, it's funny. Like, obviously, goaltending was a huge part of it, right? But I think almost maybe game one kind of woke the Avs up a little bit and kind of said, like, hey, and especially Georgiev, right? He kind of got the stinker out of the way. And I think he kind of saw him be a little more focused the rest of the series kind of after what happened. And at the same time, like, the star players for the Avs just took over. And I think they kind of hit a level that, like, we all know they could hit, that the Jets just weren't able to match. And, like, to me, the Jets have been the most disappointing team in the first round, right? Like this was a team that was near the top of the West pretty much the entire regular season, up until I think like the second to last week of the regular season. Like they were favored to win the division for most of it. And to kind of go out in the first round in 5 games again after all like the, oh, this team is different after the big trade over the summer, like it felt like maybe they had a run in them. So being out in the first round in 5 games again, like I know we kind of talked about like what's going to happen if the Leafs were to have lost last night. And obviously, we'll get into that, but like I don't know how you run it back with the same Jets core after kind of how they looked against the Avs, because it was certainly deserved that they lose. Like it wasn't like they just got unlucky or that it was only goaltending was why they're out. Like they got thoroughly outplayed in the entire series.
Right. Alex, what do you think about that roster and running it back?
I mean, like I said, they got a lot of guys that they're kind of tied to. Most notably, like I said, with the contracts with Connor Hellebuck. So that's something you have to think. Who is your anchor now? You maybe you build this team from the outside out. You have Kyle Connor tied in long term, Mark Scheifele long term. Those are obviously your key pieces. But there are a lot of pieces that you could move, guys that will be UFAs in the next year or two. So that's something that maybe they take a retool approach next season where it's not a full rebuild build. You don't tear everything down, but maybe you're not as competitive next season and you make some trades and then you kind of gear up for another run, which I think would kind of maybe lead to possibly a coaching change as well, because obviously you need personnel to match with the coaching. So, yeah, we might see a bit of a retooling for Winnipeg in the next year or so.
Yeah, I mean, I think to the point, sorry, Zach, I think to the point on Hellebuck, like we've seen, I mean, we've talked about this numerous times about how goalies can just be so, I guess, high variance kind of in small sample sizes. And like, I think if you're running it back, like, I certainly have faith in Hellebuck, right? Like, he was great for the better part of 82 games or however many he played this year. Like, I'm not necessarily worried that he kind of had 5 stinkers in April against an elite offensive, elite scoring team. I think the bigger worry for the Jets maybe, and I forget who tweeted this last night. I saw it from somebody, like the top players on the Jets just don't play defense at all. Like Scheifele's never played any defense. Obviously, they got rid of Wheeler at the end of last year. Like Kyle Connor's not a good defensive forward. Like you got all these guys, and I think it's kind of not the best example, I guess, when your top players are only kind of playing one side of the puck. So like that, I think that's the bigger issue for the Jets is like, can they kind of get the full team to buy in? Because you saw it in the series that they just like they were basically trying to play every game like game one. I forget what the final score of that game ended up being, but they were basically trying to play every game like that. And against a team that can bury chances and has those elite kind of offensive scores like the Avs do, I mean that's just not